Hey everybody, Life's Journey of 50 here. So today my special guest is Ricardo Congote. I think I got that right. He's laughing because I probably got it wrong. So anyhow, so probably gonna see me a little sweaty. It's a little hot down here. We're down here in Cali, Colombia at epiCO Moto, right?
Correct.
And so Ricardo, obviously I'm a novice YouTuber. And I appreciate this. This is a great opportunity to come down here and ride with you, and to just take in the country of Colombia. I think this is going to be an epic tour.
It will be for sure. Yeah.
So my big thing, I've been doing some interviews lately of people, and I thought, I'm glad you were courteous enough or kind enough to take the time to answer a few questions for me, because I think it's great to let people know what you do, right? The country, how beautiful it is, and so far the hospitality. Folks, let me tell you something. Hospitality, food-wise, again,
we just got back from lunch.
Right? So, oh my God, that what was that I had? The coffee.
Oh, the coffee milkshake.
There'll be a picture.
Coffee
of it,
milkshake.
There will be a picture of it.
And the coconut lemonade.
Excellent stuff. So, thank you again for sitting down. So the big thing for me is, how did this all start? Like even before epiCO Moto, how did you get started in all this, like with riding and stuff?
Well, I mean, it's kind of a long story, but I'll try to make it short.
Okay.
So it's been since I can remember being 5 or 8 years old. Remember one of my friends around my neighborhood, he had a little Honda Z50 as a Christmas present.
Right.
I see this thing and I'm like blown away. I'm like, I need to have this, I need to ride it. So I'm going back to my house and begging my parents to get me one of these things. I've never seen one. There was obviously no internet. I've never seen one before live. And I just fall in love with this little tiny red bike. And from that moment, it just became an obsession. One, because my parents were very afraid of me getting hurt on a motorcycle, very understandable. So I was never able to have one while I was living with them. So first thing I did when I moved out of the house was get a motorcycle.
Nice.
Right? First thing I did, I'm like, listen, Mom, Dad, I know you hate this, but I have to do it. I just have to do it. I've been, waiting for this moment for so many years. And from that moment, I got a 650 and I started getting into off-road riding.
650, which?
It was a Suzuki.
Gotcha.
Free Wind. I don't know if in the States you guys got that model. It was very similar to a V-Strom.
Okay.
One cylinder, kind of a dual sport adventure looking bike.
Right.
That was my first motorcycle, and then I started getting into some off-road. Then that bike wasn't the proper bike for that. Like we all do. We start trying new bikes and trying new things, and I ended up moving to the States for work. I was an architect, back in the day, and I lived there for 15 years. And after 10 years or so, I'm like, this is not making me happy. This is not what I want to do for the rest of my life. I just want to ride motorcycles.
Right. Well, I mean, don't we all want to do that?
Exactly.
So everybody out there, just FYI, he's living our dream. So just FYI.
Hey, listen, I was just miserable at work. Miserable. I was becoming a different person.
Ooh, okay.
So
you hit this moment in your life where it's like
definitely
tired of the daily grind.
Oh my God, so much.
And you wanted to follow your passion.
Follow my passion.
Or at least something of your passion.
I wanted to do something that I would enjoy. I was not enjoying my work.
Got it.
So I would come back for holidays to Cali, Colombia, my hometown, and I would go rent a bike or borrow a bike from whoever. And then I bumped into this guy from another country who started the business of doing tours in Colombia with motorcycles. I'm like, wait a second. So you can actually make a living riding motorcycles around this beautiful country, and So I was blown
So
away.
light
Yeah, I'm
dawned.
like, this can be done. This guy's doing it. He's not even from here, and he's pretty successful at it. So I got that idea in my head, but years go by. Years go by.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I would say 8, 9 years, and I would call my brother from my cubicle in my office, and I'm like, dude, let's just start something.
Right.
Let's start with an adventure company. Let's think about this. And he's like, yeah, sure, let's do it. Like he would always say, yes, let's do it. But you know,
Things happen.
he would go back to his job. I would go back to my job, and then when I would get frustrated again, I would start again, and I would start like sketching like the name of the company or like what I would like to offer. But it got to one point where I'm like, dude, you either stop complaining and do something about it or just forget about it.
Right.
Because you're being miserable at your job and you're just dreaming about something, but you're not doing anything about it. So my 40th birthday comes up and I'm like, this is it. I cannot sit on this cubicle for another 25 years to get a pension because I'm going to shoot myself. Right? So
So you talk about that moment, right? Like
it was
so
a
you-
moment.
So you hit the moment.
It was a moment. It was a specific time at night where I just made the decision. I just made the decision. And just by making the decision without doing anything else, I was so, like, I felt a huge weight came off my
Alive,
shoulder.
like-
I felt
yeah.
alive. I'm like, oh my God, am I really doing this? I'm like, but nobody's telling me what to do or how to start a
Right.
business or, I'm like, what do I do first? Okay, I don't know. Let's start with a website. Okay, so I call my buddy from Cali, from New York. I'm like, dude, can you help me build a website? He's like, yeah, sure. So I start sketching the website, everything by hand. You know, So I started believing that I was doing it, right? And then I talked to one of my uncles. He was very important in this decision in a way that he supported me with the idea. And he's like, dude, you know what you should do? And I'm like, what? Tell me. Like, he's a very successful entrepreneur.
Right.
He tells me, just write down. Like, by writing down what you want to do, you're making it real. By putting it in a piece of paper. Don't put it in a computer, write it down. I'm like, seriously, man? That's your advice?
Right.
And that's what I did. So I took, blank piece of paper and I started, okay, motorcycle tours, okay. I'm like, okay, what? I didn't know what to do. So I started, like, this is what I want people to experience. This is what I want out of this new venture.
Right.
And that's how it started becoming a reality. The website, writing down like not a business plan. I'm not a business guy.
Right.
I didn't start this to make money, right?
But it was a passion.
It was my passion, and it was
something
what
for
my
you.
heart told me to do.
Wow.
I did not have a business plan, man. I did not have huge savings. I didn't calculate the income and nothing. I'm like, this is what I want to do. And in my head, there was no way it could go wrong. Stupid of me. I mean,
you had a vision.
I had a vision. That's all I had.
But you ran with that vision.
I
and,
did.
And you drove
I
it.
stuck with it, and I planned. A year after I made that decision, I stayed in my job, did my thing,
yeah.
but I was planning everything. So I went to a lot of rallies and events out in the States to kind of get the word out. I printed some business cards, and I was giving away business cards, and I didn't even have motorcycles. I didn't have a plan, nothing. But I'm like, hey man, I have a touring business in Colombia, South America. Like, you want to come? And they're like, oh dude, that sounds cool. And Chad,
right,
who's by the way here with us.
Oh yeah, by the way,
yeah.
Chad's on his 55th birthday while we're here.
Yeah.
So if we
it's
reference
fourth
him-
time. It's his fourth time here.
It's his fourth time riding. So
Yeah. Anyway, so we clicked right away, and it's like, dude, that's a great idea. Let me introduce you to one of my friends. He introduced me to Dennis, to Matt, Kelly,
Oh, yeah.
all these very cool guys, and some of them have been here. So that's how the whole thing started. So I bought a bike. I sent my brother money to, he's like, dude, go buy that KLR. And he had another bike here of his own. So that was 2 bikes. and then I financed another bike, and then I borrowed money for another bike. So I have 4 bikes to start with.
Right.
And I had Chad and another 2 guys, and a bike came down for my first tour ever in 2017, January, 6 years from now.
So 6 years ago.
6 years ago.
You launch.
Yes.
How'd you come up with the name then? Like, because you said you were doodling and doing all these things.
Yeah.
Did you have this name, epiCO Moto, like before?
No.
And where did it come from?
So it's
because you know, like,
right.
Now you're starting.
Yeah.
You had that idea. Did you start with epiCO Moto from the very beginning?
Yes. From the beginning,
when you were
yes.
passing out cards, all that stuff. You had that.
I already had the name.
Got it.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I already had the name.
So you already had like when you talked about your vision.
I already.
You already had it thought
I
out.
was thinking about the name when I started. I'm like, okay, I want to do this. Very important. What am I going to call this company?
Right.
It's got to be something catchy. It's got to be something that means something, either to me or to other. You know, it's got to mean something. So I started
where
with.
That meaning, like, what
so epiCO is epic.
Epic, yeah.
In English. So I started with my last name, okay, because my last name is kind of different. So I'm like Congo Adventures, Congote, Congo. I'm like, but that sounds like someplace in Africa. People are gonna get confused. I'm like, no, this is not gonna work. So I started thinking back about the trips I would do with my brother sporadically.
Got it.
And we would mess around and say, oh, dude, we would get excited because I was in the States, he was here. We would plan ahead. I'm like, we got to go here and there.
This would be epic or something like that?
Right there.
Oh, okay.
So I'm like, dude, this is going to be epic. I'm like, epic. And I was at my cubicle at my office. I'm like, epic, epiCO, epiCO, Colombia. I'm like, epiCO, and I just stood up and it banged on my desk.
People think you were nuts around
the low cubicles in my office. They're like, shh. I'm like, oh, dude, sorry. And I got back down. I'm like, yes, this is it,
That's
epiCO.
Great.
Yeah. So then I started looking at the font for the lettering. So I could, you can see it here.
And I'll give close-ups of it.
Yeah.
You'll
so
see.
Yeah. This is the logo. So I wanted something kind of rough looking.
Right.
This is adventure, off-road. And the CO.
It's kind of like a mud, like it's been dirtied up in the adventure world, right?
That was the idea, and then I made the CO bigger for Colombia.
Right.
And
so
that's
epic, and you played off the C for the Colombia, and then obviously Moto.
Yeah,
motorcycle adventure.
That's how it came out. Yeah.
That's awesome. By the way, you can see the bikes. I'll show you, but these are some beautiful. He's got. KTM is your main bike, right?
Yeah, KTM. That's what we're riding, right? 390s, 790s, 890s, and the latest edition right behind me, a Husqvarna.
And by the way, the latest edition, nobody else rides but the main man right here. So the 901 Nord.
Well, everybody has to break him in, right?
Yeah, exactly. So maybe if you come down 2 or 3 years from now, maybe you'll get that one. Okay, so now. 6 years ago, right? 6 years ago?
Correct, yeah.
So 6 years ago, the lightning bolt hits, this is it, we're all in type of thing. You're doing your bikes, you've purchased bikes.
Yeah.
And then you start off. So that first year, what was that like? Like to just get people to come here, right? To do it or to even get your name out in
right.
public,
Obviously, nobody had ever heard of epiCO. People had heard of other companies.
Right.
There's other companies in Colombia, very successful, do the same thing. There's not a lot, but I was very lucky to, like Chad came on the first tour and the other guys, and they would talk about it. Word of mouth was it's been, and it still is my best ally, People
your best advertising. Right?
It's the best advertising. I can spend money on Google ads and everything, which, I do, social media. But the people who come here and they come back and they talk to your friends and they're like, listen, I went to Colombia and I had the time of my life.
It was epic.
And it was epic. And when people tell me, like, listen, Ricardo, I've been all over the world. I've ridden motorcycles in every single country. And I have to tell you, this is on my top list right now. And for somebody to tell me that, that it's everything to me.
That's it.
It's everything to me.
Yeah, right.
So, and people keep coming back. This is Chad's 4th time.
Right.
We just did a tour with a group of guys, 4th time also.
But you took them to Ecuador, right?
I took them to Ecuador because I pretty much showed them the entire country already.
Yeah,
but they
keep
keep
here
Three times. Yeah. So we've been all the way to the northernmost tip of Colombia, to the south, east and west. And they're like, Ricardo, we want to come back. What do you got for us? I'm like, well, let's go to Ecuador. They're like, yes.
So to me, that sounds like an expanding business proposition for
listen, I'm up for anything. Colombia has so much, though.
Right.
Colombia has so much. You can ride Colombia for 6 months straight, and you won't see it all. You know.
Think about that when you say that, right? Because that's the beauty of it.
Yeah, yeah.
That you have all these different areas of the country. And again, this is my first time here. So
yeah.
It's beautiful, folks, by the way. So far, just Cali coming here has been absolutely fantastic. But you've got this whole country to kind of delve into.
Yeah.
And you can, now granted, most of your tours are not necessarily of the quote unquote the adventure style of heavy off-road technical stuff, like it is a cross between, you got regular tarmac, just regular roads, but then you're doing gravel and dirt roads, and you might come across the occasional washout or water crossing or whatever, but it's not a ride that you need to come here and be like a super expert on,
right.
Correct?
You need to be an experienced adventure rider, which means you need to be confident both on tight, twisty roads, which you have tons of those,
right?
And you have to be very comfortable on any off-road situation, being easy gravel roads, rocky roads. We ride all public roads. We don't do single track, crazy hero sections or anything like that. Everything is public roads, but you need to be.
But it could, because we were talking last night a little bit. You could get some rain, some heavy rains
for sure,
and then run into some, some mud or whatever, right? And you got to be able to kind of control your bike. You just can't come here with very little experience.
Exactly.